Hello, I'm Phyllis Montgomery, and I'm here with the Vice President of the Cool Comic Company and the author of the J Chronicles to bring you information on one of the body's core natural functions. One hint, O2 and CO2. If you're thinking of the cardiovascular or respiratory system, then you may be watching the right video. Now, not to say that the two are interchangeable, but they're related as joints and bones. In the next few minutes, we will discover the biggest difference between the two, but more importantly, we will discuss in this video the importance of breathing, which means the focus will be on the respiratory system for now. Pay attention. At the end of the video, there will be some questions you will have to answer in order for me to believe that you actually learned something. Moving along, let's start with some comparisons. The cardiovascular system deals with the transfer of O2 through the bloodstream to the heart from the lungs, and CO2 from the heart and bloodstream to the lungs. The respiratory system deals with the transfer of O2 from outside the body into the lungs and into the bloodstream, and CO2 from the bloodstream to the lungs and out the nose or mouth. When put into words, the system seems to be just as confusing and inseparable as before, right? Think about this as we go through what the respiratory system actually is. The respiratory system revolves around breathing. First, let's go through the anatomy and physiology of this breathtaking organ system. There are in fact two distinct sections to the system. The conducting zone, which includes the parts responsible for the primary intake of O2, a vital source for all living beings since the age when bacteria ruled the earth. These parts include the nose and jointly the mouth, who is responsible for the filtration of pathogens and dust particles using nasal hairs. Warms and moisturizes air as it passes through your sinuses in order to create a wet atmosphere that helps various functions of the lungs. The nasal cavity and pharynx are also involved in the intake that leads into the larynx, the opening to the throat. Air transporting tube known as the trachea, which later branches off into the left and right bronchi of the more popular area of the lungs. And of course, for all you wonderful consumers out there, there's a little flap that is made to innately cover the larynx from everything outside of air. So this is why we don't get food in our lungs, or why water is such a huge worry when entered into the lungs. Now this is all done within a much needed process involving the term bulk flow. Anyone who has taken chemistry is aware, even if subconsciously, the implications of bulk flow. If not, bulk flow continues on the same lines as the most common relationship between pressure and concentration at a large scale, because mammals are large and need a lot at one time. Air molecules such as oxygen enjoy space, speed, and freedom to move. So what happens is just that. The oxygen moves from an area of high pressure to an area of lower pressure and then back. In terms of the body, the air pressure outside of the body is higher than that of the air inside before inhaling. Your body responds to the need for homeostasis by inhaling, which brings all the pressure difference to a close and then exceeds it, which is why our chest expands and why we need to exhale. Next up is the respiratory zone. The bronchus, lungs, diaphragm, external intercostal muscle, bronchioles, alveolar ducts, and alveoli make up the more complicated region. After intake, air then travels down the trachea and branches off to the separate bronchus sections. Many of you may be familiar with some of the diseases that are popular in this area. Diseases such as bronchitis, which is caused by pathogenic airflow and creates an inflammation that blocks the flow of air up, down, to and from the lungs, making it harder to breathe. That along with bronchiectasis and emphysema, which are the same thing except for the fact that your mom and dad could be responsible for the wheezing, burning sensations, and coughing you will endure if you have one of these. Once O2 actually gets past the bronchus, it enters the lungs. The lungs are made of smooth, thin, and non-contractible muscle tissue meant to be able to expand. The size is determined by the pressure increased by air and back down by the ribs. The bronchus breaks off into even finer, ever-thinning branches called bronchioles. At the end of these bronchioles are alveolar ducts. The ducts then have a cavity-filled area of thin cells made for the quick diffusion of oxygen into the bloodstream and in reverse for CO2 called alveoli. The oxygen molecules that are at the alveoli area have been lubricated and are ready to then diffuse through epithelial cells, integrated basal lamina, and endothelial tissue at the base of blood vessels near the exterior of the lungs. This is breathing in a nutshell. Naturally, the body cannot just deal with that extra pressure that comes with breathing. This is where some other systems come to help. The chest cavity is able to expand due to the diaphragm and the external intercostal muscle. The diaphragm is a U-shaped muscle at the base of the lungs. It's responsible for organ placement and upward expansion. Relax when exhaling and put at a stressful 180 when inhaling. The rib cage is intersected by external intercostal muscle that allows for the expansion of the chest horizontally and slightly upward when inhaling and the opposite when exhaling. So, in the respiratory system, there is an exchange of gas in the blood cells. The cardiovascular system involves the movement of oxygen-filled blood throughout the body and the reverse for carbon dioxide. Asthma is the most common of the complications in this system. It, like the others, is mostly inherited and is a restriction in either the trachea or bronchus. Well, that's going to wrap it up for now. I hope you learned something about the respiratory system, or at least what separates it from the cardiovascular. Now, let's get on to those questions I promised. Explain the process failure involved in hyperventilation. Explain the effects of elevation increase encountered when climbing a mountain. And how will aerobic versus anaerobic exercise affect respiration rate?